We're here in the studio with Larry Bobka, and I know you wanted to just discuss the expectations golfers should have about club fittings. So you've been fitting all year. I mean, we were down in Scottsdale.
Yep.
You're back here in Minnesota as the weather starts to finally warm up here. What would you tell people that is scheduled to fitting at Second Swing, whether it's for irons, whether it's for driver, whatever it might be? What would you tell them to be prepared for?
Well, I would be prepared for one. Everybody does a little internet shopping before they come in.
Sure.
Okay, which is just fine. One, hey, and I always ask, what models are you interested in trying? So that for sure, doing that. But if I'm watching you warm up and you don't have any spin and you want to try some rocket ship launch and iron, I might bring it in, and I might tell you I'm not going to bring it in because here's the reason I'm not going to bring it. So you got to come in with an open mind. Mm-hmm. You have to understand that, hey, come in with an open mind. Here's what we're thinking about. I can't tell you the people that walk out and go, boy, I never thought that was going to be my club. Yeah. I never thought that was going to be my golf shaft. Okay, well, but you don't do this for a living.
Right. Well,
this is 44 years of doing this.
So have you had it? I mean, clearly, and there are golfers that, there's, media stuff out there or, whatever articles, podcasts about certain products. You see and hear the stuff from the manufacturers about things. I'm sure all the time you get somebody that comes in for a fitting and they have a specific model of club that they're like, I'm going to get those today.
Right.
Sometimes that's probably the right fit sometimes, but more often than not, I imagine it's much more complex than that, and it requires a little bit more. And I guess more often than not, then, right, that player goes out and maybe they're like, this is a little bit off. They might come back in for a follow-up fitting.
Well, I think the one thing people need, so say I come in and I really want to get fit for Titleist T200s. Okay. Well, how about we just stay in the Titleist line? Because the 200 might not be the right golf club for you. Yeah. You might need the 100. You might need the 150. You might need the 350. So I think you have to be open to saying, hey, this is the model I'm thinking about, but I want to stay in Titleist. I had a guy come in Saturday, and pretty good player, 10 handicapper, hits it pretty good, hits it pretty solid. And he goes, I just love Titleist, and whatever Titleist iron fits me, whatever shaft, I'm leaving it up to you. There is the perfect world of fitting, okay? Or, hey, I want to hit a Titleist T200, but allow me to bring in models that are similar to that from other companies and see what kind of performance we get. Because if you might find out that, okay, maybe you hit your buddies Titleist T200s over and over again when you play golf with them and you love them, but you haven't tried anything else. Mm-hmm. Give me the opportunity to try something else, and you might, we did that. I did that famous thing at the Holes for Hope where I talk about the guy that never won a set of ping irons.
Yep.
And he loves the ping irons more than and it's like, holy cow, I never thought I'd have a set of ping irons. Well, allow us to do our job, I guess would be the big thing is, let us do a little investigating. Let us use our expertise to help you.
Well, that's when you're in your element is when someone, like you mentioned, that's even a more narrow sort of, I guess it's categorizing it a little bit more. But when that player comes in and says, I just want a Titleist iron, and that's perfect. That's when you get into your element of like, I've got the different models here. We've got all these shafts we can try out. We've got even, shaft lengths we can try out, and then, of course, the different lie angles with the heads and stuff. Right. So that's when you get to kind of play doctor in a sense. Like we're going to diagnose the best solution for you.
Absolutely.
And so that's and that part is taken away a little bit when someone has a certain model or a certain brand or a certain fixation in their mind of what they're going to come out of that fitting with.
Yeah, and another good one is when people go, I just want what's best for me. Okay, that's perfect. That's an easy scenario. Can watch them warm up. We can try some different clubs. The thing that you can't get fixated on is, man, I want to play TaylorMade P7 night. and if they don't work, you can't get frustrated.
Yeah.
You can't get frustrated at me, or you can't get frustrated at the fitter that it doesn't work, because the launch and spin conditions on that club might not work. You got to remember, there's a lot of talk about the shaft being the engine, all this. All I know through my years, 85% of the performance of a golf club is the head and the loft. From there, then we fine tune it with the shaft. Then we complement that. Okay. I can't take if Drew, if you want to play this, and we've seen it in your game in the past, you want to play these low spinning rocket ship irons.
Yeah.
There's not a golf shaft that's going to make that performance of that club fly high and come down soft. It's just it's not available, because you can't change it that much. You have a lot more ability to change ball flight in a driver shaft than you do in an iron shaft. You got to remember, an iron shaft's just a steel. If you're not playing graphite, it's just a steel tube.
Yep.
My great friend Bob Bush, who designed the dynamic shaft, was like, yeah, what do you think? I mean, it's a tube 37 inches long. We can only do so much.
Yeah.
You got to get the weight right. You got to get the flex right. Then we can play a little bit, but you're not going to change performance. So you got to allow us to put you in the right head and then fine tune that shaft. And that's what we do on a daily basis. And, the other thing that people get caught up a little bit sometimes is, okay, so then I fit you into TaylorMade P770s. Well, if we're doing a full bag, I want all TaylorMade. Can't do that.
Yeah.
There's so many other options. We've talked about in the past with Bernhard Langer have 7 different brands in his golf bag. I think I have 5 or 6 right now, including my own.
Right. Well, and you also notice there's the guys on tour that are equipment free agents, so to speak. They got all kinds of different stuff in their bag.
Yeah.
Or they might have a staff contract for irons only, and then the rest of it is something totally different.
Right.
You take a look at the golf, the Brex, what's in the bag post, and you can quickly tell, all right, here's a guy who's on contract for 14 clubs because he's got the same ones.
Right.
Outside of those players, nobody's playing the same brand through the entire bag.
Well, and hey, if you've got if you got TaylorMade irons, and then we go to Ping Woods, or you do a Ping driver and one of my favorite ones is I'll do a driver and a 3-wood of another company, maybe Callaway or Titleist, whatever, and somebody wants a 7-wood. I think the Ping 7-wood is one of the best performing golf clubs out there.
Yeah.
Bar none. Mm-hmm. And, all of a sudden you're bringing a 7-wood, and they're like, well, what'd you bring in Ping? I'm like, just hit it. Just hit it.
Yeah. So it kind of goes back to that.
Don't ask, just hit it. And all of a sudden they hit it, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is really good. So you got to be open to that, because it's about performance. And if I can, hey, when I worked for Titleist for years, went through the same thing. You got players that have contracted, but they're coming in with a TaylorMade 3-wood. They're coming in with a Callaway fairway wood, Adams hybrids back in the day, and they've got all these clubs in it because ours wasn't as good as those. So now, if I'm coming in to get fit, I got an open door. Mm-hmm. I can get the best driver. I can get the best 3-wood. I can get the best 5-wood. I can get the best hybrid. I can get the best set of irons. I can get the best wedges.
So
I get the best putter.
It's in a way, it's much better than being when you were back with Titleist, because you've got all these different options to play with.
Yeah, I didn't. You're not in there grinding soles off irons to make them perform like another manufacturer's golf club.
Right.
Yeah,
that's so kind of I guess what you're asking for is when someone gets schedules a fitting with you is just to go in with an open mind,
right,
and ultimately be willing to put in the bag what's best, and it's going to help you improve the quickest.
Just allow the fitter to do his job, and allow yourself the ability to have to me it's kind of like a bouquet of flowers, right? They're not all roses. Sometimes you got a few roses, and you got daffodils and tulips and whatever. And, to me, the prettiest golf bag is the one when you finish your round of golf and you shoot the best round you ever shot, and you're like, oh my gosh. Or you're standing out there and you got, I got to hit a 7-wood over some water, and all of a sudden I hit the best shot ever, and it's like, oh, I'm just so glad that Larry put me into this ping
Well, I
center.
know that's your favorite thing about this right now is getting those types of, notes, emails,
Oh, I get
messages.
I mean, I get text messages all the time where, from this guy that I took a 13.5 Elite Mini
Yep.
driver and turned it into 15 and a half, and sending me a message like, this might be my favorite club of all time. And that big head with a lot of loft is it's not the prettiest thing in the world, I can tell you that. But you know what? But he's got confidence in
Yep.
it. So now all of a sudden you just allow yourself to have confidence in, and it doesn't, the days of having a driver 3-wood, 4-wood, and a set of irons that all match up, there's too many options.
Yep. Too many good options.
Too many good options across the board that, hey, things might not quite fit. That, especially the transition part of the bag, which is always hard when you're transitioning from metals to irons. What is that club? Is it a 7-wood for some people? Is it a utility iron for some people? Is it a hybrid for some people? In there are such good choices across the board that, hey, let me go grab this, let me go grab that. Hey, I want a 7-wood, but I spin it to, okay, well then I go to a Callaway, I go to Elite Triple Diamond that doesn't spin at all.
Yep.
And somebody goes, well, but I've got TaylorMade driver and who cares?
Who cares? It's what performs best. So
Yeah.
that's good though. That's a good baseline for expectations. And then of course in that fitting you'll get all kinds of information about your game, and Larry or any of our fitters will definitely dial you in.
And like I said earlier, I mean, we always talk amongst ourselves and, from a fitting standpoint and try to get ideas and thoughts and, and that's what we're there for. I mean, we're there to help you, allow us to help you, allow us to, and the other thing is just, when you're talking to the fitter, one of the big questions that I always ask people is, okay, so you play the same golf. Say you're a member at Wayzata Country Club. Okay. What shots don't you? Well, there's a couple holes where I just, I've got a forced carry at 200 yards. I don't really have a club for that. Okay.
Let's get you one.
Let's get you one. Rather than, well, I'm carrying driver 3-wood, 5-wood, but okay, but the 5-wood sometimes just, I can't get it up in the air. Okay. Well, then take that out and throw a 7-wood in there. Figure you have to think about what you use on the golf course. I think one of the most fun thing I've had in the last couple of weeks is moving up a set of tees at Chaska going, I got to hit some different clubs off the tee now.
Yeah.
I really never put a lot of precedence in a 3-wood the last few years because I wasn't hitting it very much. I'd hit a driver or a 5-wood or a hybrid. I really wasn't hitting a lot of 3-woods. Now it's like, man, I need a 3-wood. I could hit off the tee. And actually, a couple of years ago, the guys from Tour Edge gave me a 3-wood, and I'm like, let me pull that out of the storage unit and see how that. And it's been great. I mean, I've been driving it absolutely great. Everybody goes, playing Tour Edge. What do you mean?
It works.
I love the size. I love the look of it.
That does go back to the open-mindedness, though. Like,
yeah.
If the Tour Edge works for you, it does with the job that you needed to on the golf course, you're going to play it.
Well, you're going to play it, and you're going to get confidence in it, and you're going to get performance out of that golf club. And to me, that's the biggest thing.
It is. Yeah. So that's ultimately the goal of a fitting at Second Swing. So go schedule that fitting. Get with someone like Larry. They'll get you dialed in with whatever the fitting may end up be for you. So, Larry, thank you for joining and giving your insight today.
You're welcome.